All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to build a real, practical, life-saving guide to surviving one of nature's most powerful and, frankly, terrifying forces, a tsunami.
Okay, so let's just dive right in with a question that really gets to the heart of a super common and really dangerous misconception. The answer isn't about those giant Hollywood-style waves. It's all about the unbelievable power of moving water. Now this is what you really need to see. Just look at that jump. At ankle height, the risk is practically zero. But once that water gets up to your knees, we're only talking about 70 centimeters, the force is enough to just sweep an adult right off their feet. And the mortality rate, it skyrockets to over 70%. That is insane. So here's the big takeaway. You can never, ever underestimate the power of what looks like just a little bit of water. So, knowing when to act is everything, right? And that all starts with understanding the warnings you might get, both the official ones and the ones from nature itself. Knowing the difference, that's what saves lives. Okay, so you've got two official terms to know, watch and warning. And the difference is simple, but it is absolutely vital. A tsunami watch, that means, hey, get ready. A threat is possible, so you need to stay glued to the news. But a tsunami warning, that is a completely different beast. That's an urgent command. It means danger is coming and you need to move to safety, like right now. But you know what? A lot of the time, your very first and your best alert won't come from an official source at all. It's going to come from nature. If you're on the coast and you feel a really strong earthquake, one that lasts for like 20 seconds or more, or if you see the ocean suddenly pull way, way back, or you hear this loud, strange roaring sound like a train, that is your warning. Don't wait for sirens. Don't check your phone. You just go immediately. Okay, so all of this leads us right to your personal survival blueprint. This is the stuff you do long before a disaster ever even thinks about striking. Because in a crisis, you don't have time to think. You just have to act on a plan that's already in place. And here is the fundamental rule of survival. It's simple, and it is absolute. Put distance and elevation between you and the coast. Your goal, your magic numbers, are to get at least 1 mile inland or 100 feet above sea level. That's your minimum safe zone. Every single foot you go higher or further inland, well, that just increases your chances of making it through. So how do you get there? Well, your community probably has these designated evacuation routes, and your job isn't just to know where they are. Your job is to know them so well, you could follow them in the dark, in the pouring rain, with roads maybe even blocked. So practice the walk, time yourself, make it second nature, because one day, it might have to be. All right, let's talk about your go kit. Having this thing ready means you can just grab it and go without even thinking. You want to organize it into 3 key categories. First, the essentials: water, non-perishable food, a radio. Next, health and safety: a first aid kit, any personal medications you need. And finally, the critical stuff: copies of your important documents and some cash, because you never know. Okay, we've planned. We've prepped. Now let's talk about the critical moments during the event itself. This is when every second and every single decision you make truly matters. This is where all that preparation pays off. So you're near the coast and the ground starts shaking. What do? First things first, protect yourself from the earthquake. Drop, cover, and hold on. But the second that shaking stops, you move. You get to high ground immediately. Don't hesitate. The earthquake is the warning. And this next rule, it's a hard one, but it is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to abandon your belongings. People have died in past tsunamis trying to save their things. Your possessions can be replaced. You can't. Save your life, not your stuff. And if you need a real-world example of why that rule is so vital, listen to this. This is the tragic story of Ramon Atala from the 1960s Chile tsunami. He survived the earthquake, but he went back to his waterfront warehouse between the first and second waves, and he was lost. He went back for property. His body was never found. And just look at the sheer destructive force we're talking about. This was the town of Kuel. It was a full mile from the sea, and after the tsunami, it was just gone, almost completely erased from the map. This right here is why getting to high ground isn't just a good idea, it is the only reliable option. Okay, but what if you're trapped? What if you can't evacuate? These are last-ditch efforts, but they have saved lives. The key is to get vertical.
Climb to the third floor or the roof of a really sturdy building, or find a strong tree and get up as high as you can. And if you do get swept into the water, you have to grab onto anything that floats, a log, a door, anything, just to stay above all the debris.
Now, here's one of the biggest, most critical mistakes people make. They think the danger is over after that first wave passes. But a tsunami isn't one wave. It's a series of waves, like a train. And often, the first wave isn't even the largest one. The danger, these powerful currents, can last for 8 hours or even more. This clock from Hilo, Hawaii, is such a stark reminder of that fact. The official warnings went out around 8:30 in the evening. The first kind of small waves arrived after midnight, but it was the third wave, this massive one at 1:04 a.m., that caused most of the 61 deaths there. The lesson? Stay on high ground until the officials give the all clear. Period. All right, so surviving the waves, that's the first huge challenge. But the second is safely navigating the hidden dangers of the aftermath. The world you return to will be completely transformed, and it will be incredibly hazardous.
Because once the water is gone, the dangers just change. They don't disappear. You've got to think about downed power lines electrifying any standing water. That water could also be contaminated with sewage and chemicals. Buildings and roads could collapse without warning, and there's a huge risk of gas leaks and fire. You have to be extremely, extremely careful.
And, the impact isn't just physical. We have to talk about that. Surviving something like this leaves deep, invisible wounds. It's so important to understand that things like post-traumatic stress, grief, and depression, these are completely normal reactions to a profoundly abnormal event. So what helps? Well, experts say one of the most powerful tools for coping is just restoring some sense of routine. In a world that's been turned completely upside down, predictable schedules for things like meals and sleep can bring back a little bit of normalcy. And this is especially critical for kids. It helps them feel safe again. So we've covered the warnings, the plan, the actions, and it all comes back to this one final crucial question for you and for your family. Knowing the risk, having a route planned out, building that go kit. It's not just a checklist, It's your lifeline when every single second counts. So, is yours ready?